from a spiritual standpoint, right? What's the purpose of the chaos? Um, is that one is that reminder of the chaos set point that we're in. And I know how uncomfortable it can be. And adding in the energetics of the 9 year and understanding where we're going, because I always look at like where we are and the path to purpose is the future,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And we're going to a new beginning. Um, Before we get to that new beginning, it's getting clear on the things that are continually causing harm and disruption on a soul level, the things that suck the life energy out of us, the things that make us question our purpose, question our value, question everything in a way that disarms us and keeps us detached and feeling broken because of like whatever reason, right?
yeah,
But the reminder is that, and the importance of being aware of how you're feeling so you can get to a level of understanding, okay, like I feel this way, how can I care for myself? Because that is when you come back to yourself and you start to calm and soothe your psyche. That's the whole point of spirituality. Having a spiritual practice, it calms and it soothes your psyche. So if you don't have a
yeah,
spiritual practice, figure something out. Like
yeah,
really figure something out, because it's always serving, and it's something that I feel that you need to have continually, no matter if it's chaotic or anything like that. Because
yeah.
with your
We work in
practice,
mind.
when the
Yeah,
chaos comes in, you're like, okay, well, it's a little chaotic. Let me go like sit in prayer. Let me go pet some animals. Let me go hug a tree. Let me just jump in the ocean. Let me go
yeah,
take
yeah.
take
That.
baths, or read a book, listen to music, twerk, do the things that bring you joy, that
Joy. Yeah,
ground you and connect you. Because the chaos is always going to cycle through, and we're in that period of there's so many shifts on so many levels in a way that has never happened. I think they said in the last couple thousand of years. Just like, I'm getting very woo woo here, like the people that do astrology and what have you, and numerology as well.
yeah.
So there's a level of intensity because there's so much going on. There's so many upgrades that are happening to the system, and there's so many systems that
Yeah.
are at play.
I'm feeling it all.
I know, right?
I'm feeling it all. It's just crazy. So that's why I
Yeah,
believe that Major's talking about a lot about sitting in silence and knowing that it's okay. I know that my ego is
silence
like,
is
I don't want me
really
to
good.
sit still. Don't want me to sit still because in sitting still, the ego has to be silenced and it doesn't want to be silenced. I have to say this more than I know because the battle is real, even for this alchemist, the spiritual alchemist, and the shifts and actually renewing my spiritual practices. And it's been a fight. It's been a true one. That battle, I got the battle within, and now a piece I had title called Divided, and I choose not to be that, but it's an ongoing process of renewal, of
Mm,
becoming renewed. I
yeah,
mean,
the
oh my
renewal piece.
goodness. Um, and standing in how spirit and all my support people, and much less than that, the God, connecting to the authenticness of who your higher power is just that. And sometimes we are so familiar with what we know that it's hard to let it fall off or let go. Just like you were talking about the
Yeah,
different,
yeah,
these versions. We have to let those versions go. And even with somebody who I got to say I am that I am, and matter of fact, the next time I see them, I'm like, no, that person you are is not serving you anymore. And I'm gonna use a certain situation that they're dealing with now as maybe what it is for you to recognize that. And if you don't see or make that change, you're going to continue with the same stuff. If you don't go back and look at your history, honey, for this individual, it's continued this particular cycle. And unfortunately, something went down with us. And I know that the thing is simply because I can't talk, because it's like, I don't know how you see me, but I can't be around you. You can be around, but I choose that I either going to be respected because I know what I see. And if I care, then I have to be the one to speak up. If you can't receive it or do all that, then, I might
Mm,
have to keep it moving. I don't know if, it'll be to fall off or what, but the thing of it is that, and when they said it, I was like, I said, I'm not even the same me because I'm realizing this and you doing this. And I said, you don't see that this pattern's been going on for a long time in your world. Now, the one other person who I know will probably do, I'll probably speak to them so they can hear what needs to be heard for the shifting. Because I was like, oh, this is the way I always been. Well, always been ain't serving me today. Always been ain't serving a lot of people today. It might even not be serving you today, you
mm,
know? And that's what you have to look and see, because it's like this way, that way. And not only that, we can't make nobody do nothing. People, I'm going to show you who you are and you just have to believe them. And so I realized I showed that ain't me no more. That's just a no. And I need to be okay with that. I need to be okay with the shift. I need to be okay with the growth. I need to be okay with becoming truly who I was meant to be and who I am to be today, not yesterday. We can use it. We can use our history to make people laugh. We can use it, to see this journey. We can use it, to relate to one another. But to stand in it and continue to be in it, there's no way to move. And I know the ancestors said, I was just like, well, I'm not really trying to stay there. And then it goes back to the ego self. It goes back to the deceptive challenge. This is what I know. This is how we need to stay. And it's like, no. And the very soul of you says no. And then I was like, we got a soul contract. Oh, that's another deep subject. And it's like, no, I get to choose to change that
mm.
dynamic.
Yeah, we can't talk
And
about
I
that.
am,
Yeah, yeah.
that because she had just spoke about spiritual study sanctuary, about that. And I said, I am that. That's how I know that I am the alchemist. I've already got confirmation I'm that. And I want to help
Mhm.
you transform, transition, and be the best and not have to continue. People look at suffering. That's another thing. Suffering don't mean if I slam, because I didn't slam this poor finger right here. I'm sorry, that was the wrong one. But it done been through hell in my military career. It done been through a lot of doors. It has suffered and it looks like it has suffered. But the other
Aw,
suffering that I want you, girl, this poor thing. If I die, you can identify me by this finger, other than my tattoo. So
not the
if,
finger.
if I,
Well, that's
but it,
awareness. Good to
but
know.
it is, but the tattoo too, for the reason why I have it, because I was allergic to my
What
dog
for?
tags.
Wait,
Yeah, I was allergic to my dog tags. Hell, it got my name on it. Hey, I'm True Blue. My given name. I give a name. I don't know if I'm changing. I might be
you
become
are you
Warrioress
are
Ardeshir already legally. But yeah,
there's
I'm
layers to you,
considering it.
so I understand like the different the names and such.
Yeah, I'm
So
the Blue Fox poet. I mean, that's just a three. Three's my signature number, so that's it. That's it. But the suffering is the things in the field and all this. What is it? She called it, or conglomeration that we kind of put ourselves through, and we don't sit still enough to kind of understand that we are more deserving. In the midst of the chaos we can find peace, and peace comes from within. And that was a subject that I was going to talk about as well, but
peace within.
so yeah, to have that. So just know, be still and know there's a couple of things. Hopefully we get it under here. I know Major's got a couple of free offerings to sit and still. I decided to do a drill in silence.
So you're
And that's
doing
the
that?
first thing in the morning. Girl, I ain't did it this morning, but I'm doing it whatever time of day I can.
A drill in silence
A drill
with
in silence with Major Ia,
Eon Van
Iana
Zant.
Van Zant.
Okay,
Now
I'll
that
put,
21 day is a cost, but you can go over just one gate. She mentioned one
is that through
person.
IVTV or her
No,
website?
go website,
Okay. I'll
iyanla.com.
put the links to it down below
Yeah.
in the description of
And
this
then
video.
she's got 10 minutes of free silence for those losing their jobs, just to have them sit still and connect and continue to do it. Because there's one guy who was doing it, and he wrote, he said, it took me 42 some days. Hell, I think it's taking me longer, and I'm a spiritual alchemist. I'm like, but I know that I'm in my home and it's quiet. So I think I do things differently, than the norm when it comes to my spiritual prayer. I remember somebody told me I'm a walking prayer, so I have to honor that. Me and the knees, they be like, we're not doing that. So, and I can do a lot of stuff. I can go down to the floor dancing, but they don't like to be on the floor. So normally I'd probably have to put a cushion or something, but when I'm in quietness in the home and I'm walking and I'm thinking and I'm doing it for other people. So not every practice, you have to find something that works good for you, but being still, she's right. Be still and know. And have to be still and know,
Can I ask you a
and
question about the stillness?
yeah,
I may be going off on a tangent. This may be a bonus part episode
yeah.
clip. With like from your understanding and like your experience of silence, what is why do you think that is important as a spiritualized being?
Because you're being still, you're trying to pull yourself away from all the all the crap that's going on, whether it's being a mama, a sister, a grandma, what all that is, and trying to connect with your true self. And also it's to help to guide you on the path, on the true path of what you're, because your knowing knows, not your ego self, not your mind self. Is that you have a divine mind, which is your inner connection to yourself. So you're trying to be still, know, major use it, and I do it a lot, is when my mind tries to go off, is even with your eyes closed, is to center yourself on your nose and then be in the breathing and try to get in. But it takes a lot, is the reason why doing it every day. And like I said, is about to do it every day. So if I'm not getting to do it in the morning because it's resistant, then I'm gonna do it whatever time at night that I can find this time to be still. She's like, you don't have a time to be still to connect with yourself. You are most important. It's like 24 hours in a day trying to figure out where is it going? What am I doing? I know I get a lot of downloads. I've been having shows that I've been dying to pick up things, even come to this space to share, but I understand that there's only that I have to limit that, because then it takes away from the other things I need to do. But to be still, and I do it where my most thing is, I am, even though I am in a car, when I'm on the interstate outside of city going to another town, I am in stillness, whether or not I know it or not. That just came, I am in stillness in that very moment. And I'm able to connect. I connect now that I'm driving more in the daytime. I connect with the sky, and then birds, they are my thing. They always show up. And so the messages that I get, so the things of it is that in this stillness, you will get the messages to guide you and divinely guide you, where your or your mind or your ego mind will take you away from, because it wants to be in control. But we have to get away from the control so we can be led spiritually, so from our authentic selves. So
Mm.
in the stillness, and I've got more close in the stillness, that sometime I'll go away, but my mind, I know that it goes a lot. So I need to be in stillness a lot longer than most people, just to quiet, to allow myself to let go. And sometime if I go back to my training from 2021, when I went to Fixins down in North Carolina, no, yeah, North Carolina. Um, I didn't go into 2021, as I remember saying, so I spelled out the ego and was like, tell your ego to get over here and sit on your shoulder. So I had to spell it out, gave it legs, and say, get out of here and sit on this shoulder right here. And that's how you can get it. And in that experience, I experienced a lot in that moment. And I forgot and connected. There's a time that I believe I left my body which was very crazy for me. And then there was a day where my pants almost fell off on Sunday, but that's another story. So I was gone. I was literally gone. But
All
because
through
my
silence.
but because my body, yeah, in the silence, so we were in a practice. And so because my body knew that it didn't want me to be embarrassed, I was gone. And then when my pants fell out, come on, it brought me back. And so I had to make sure my pants didn't fall down. And I had on a belt too, but I was losing weight, so so we were all white. It's the funniest thing. So I had to get y'all to laugh at something because I can laugh at me. So, I had no problem. So, but it was a really, really it's a really, really divine experience to do that. But there's always the battle that you're gonna say, oh no, you need to do this, you gotta do this, you gotta do this. No, like she said, start off with 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 3 minutes. But I tell you, once I start, I'll be in that moment. And then in the drill with silence, there's some affirmations to go through the day, and so to try to calm myself at night, I think about them. But I think the divine importance is the inner connection with self,
Yeah, your higher self. Yeah.
your higher self.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
more you do it, the more you can, because the ego is gonna battle, it's gonna bring up all things in your mind, and then you acknowledge them, and then you say, okay, 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 and then go away, okay, okay, go away, and get in. And then if you can use the analogy, spell the ego, add some legs to it, and just see it coming out of your brain and tell it to sit on your shoulder. I got stuff to do, and then will always be there because
It's
is here for
purposeful.
your divine protection, yeah.
It's
But
the
when it
human
comes
part of us. Yeah.
yeah. So
Mhm.
you wanna get out of the humanness and, like I said, undomesticated, to connect with that your true self. And I mean, even journaling, I know the more that I write, the more that spirit will have me come out and write something that I hope that will touch somebody else. Somebody just mentioned, am I gonna be at an event this Friday, a poetic event, on one of the outskirts of the big city here. Is actually a little bit away. Is where one of our colleges are, Kent State University. And so I'd be doing that. So, and that is a way to get in our creative. Now, people take away the creative arts, and that's where we really, when we're painting or when we're doing something like that, or journaling, or just sitting in meditation, coming to our true and authentic nature. I like abstract art because abstract art is really, really interesting, and I like clean lines. But something about abstract art, I seem to be able to visualize or try to find within that, and in that and that aspect of how that color has made it to paper. Um,
You know what I think?
yeah.
I abstract art because I love that's like my default, mainly
Hmm.
because when I am like in like that creative flow state, I lean more towards abstract art
Hmm.
because the soul recognizes and speaks in that way. The soul is abstract. And it makes
Yes.
sense that it resonates with you on that level because it speaks to your soul.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
it's one of the things I love about looking at abstract art is that it speaks differently to different people in different
Hmm.
ways. And you can
Hmm.
see things that only your soul can see.
Yeah.
It's an experience that's meant for you um as well. Um I was
Yeah, I
just
think,
curious to know
yeah.
like your perspective on being in silence and how serving it has been to like help you to remember and connect to the spiritualized being that you are. I think
It's yeah, it's also
silence.
to give you messages, like Mater said,
Yeah.
to give you messages like the things that are going on with people, for example, just to keep it into to now, with the loss of jobs, with this, is to sit in silence, see how what moves. You never know what spirit's saying, hey, I need you to manifest or to create this or to use what I have in you to create something. This is happening this way. So I need you to make a move this way for your greatest and highest good, regardless to what's going on in your world right now.
I want to share a story. I was laid off in 2020 from
Mm-hmm.
my corporate job. And I always had this hybrid where I worked corporate job and then on the weekend and evenings I did my my business. That December, I had I had made a joke with my
Mm-hmm.
friend Nicole about I was just spent. My soul was I was just spent. And I said
Yes.
to her, it's like,
Yes.
I think she asked me like, what would you like if you could have anything in the world, what would it be? And I said, girl, I would love to take a whole year off and not have to work.
Word.
And I'm sharing this story and I'm gonna continue with it a little bit and wrap it up here as best as I
Yes.
can. But and I didn't think anything of it. That was in December. I got laid off in March of the following year. And the way that I was laid off, it just was so confirming of you, this chapter is done.
Mm.
You're not meant to work for anyone else. You're done. You've gotten everything you need
Yeah.
in this capacity
Yeah.
because the way
Yeah.
that I was laid off was I felt very disrespected
Mm-hmm.
because the day before, the person, because I worked with two people in leadership and they were part
Mm-hmm.
of like different divisions within the company. And he mentioned nothing about it. He mentioned nothing about the fact that he knew, because I know he had to know that I was getting laid off, furloughed the next day. Instead, which I kind of found a little bit odd, he was like, hey, like he called me out of the blue. He never does that. He always emails me. He called me out of the blue and he had like this list like, oh, I wanted to check in like on the status of these things and I need to make sure these things get done by the end of the day today. So, me being was like, oh, okay. And because at that time we were working at home and there wasn't a lot of work coming in because of the type of work that I did at that time. I was working in corporate real estate and the marketing and the consulting, project management leg of it. And the next morning, and then he sent me an email like, hey, like at the end of the day, like, hey, what's the status? Were you able to get everything completed? So it's like, yeah, I was in the process of sending an email letting him know, like, the status, because it was the end of the day. The
Mm-hmm.
next morning, he doesn't get on the phone with me. It's the other guy that I work with. And he's the one that tells me, like, you've been furloughed. My immediate thought was like, why isn't the other guy on the phone with me? I work with both of you.
Mm-hmm.
Like why is he not part of this conversation? And I
Mm-hmm.
instantly knew, okay, you wanted to make sure that you got everything you needed from me done
Yep.
before you
Yep.
let me
Yep.
go.
Yes.
And I know he knew. I know he knew because he had to be part of the conversation. He had to be let know that like, hey, we're gonna have to let go of her, and it's gonna impact you significantly because that person that you go to for certain functions is no longer gonna be here. And so that's why I'm sharing the story of like that was an immediate like, no more of this. This is not in alignment. You've gotten what you needed from it. And I had a whole year where um I didn't have to worry about anything. I got the bonus from Trump that gave people like the extra $600 a month. Got that plus my unemployment, and I didn't have to work. And
Mm.
there was a point where once I got over my level of piss offity,
Uh-huh.
probably took me a good like couple months. I would say probably like May. I was kind of like, and I was having a conversation with my friend Nicole again. And she was talking about something else. And I remembered the conversation that we had in December. And I was like, oh my God, Nicole. I said, oh my God, I got what I asked for. I didn't think it was going to look like this.
Yeah.
Trust me on that. I did not like my capacity. Like, I would never have thought that I didn't think that could even be a reality when I
Right,
said it
right,
at the
right,
time
right.
back in December. I didn't think it was going to look like that. And it was a challenge because I had to unpack my identity of how I saw myself. My future
Mm-hmm.
instantly was like, nope, it was like wiped away.
Yes, girl.
So
Yeah.
I understand. And that's why I say like being laid off, and I've been laid off quite a few times in my life, but every time that I have has been the greatest gift ever.
Yeah.
That time was serving and closing the chapter in me moving into a whole nother career path came from that. The other time, that's a conversation for another time. But it it's always, it can provide a level of redirection in the way that you don't expect it to come in that way. And I want to offer an opportunity for people that have you did you in some capacity ask for what has happened? Have you asked for it like in very
Right.
subtle ways? Maybe like you're overworked and you don't feel appreciated at your job. Like I think a lot of times we get the things that we ask for on such a subtle way that we don't recognize that we ask for it. But it's also the reminder of how fucking powerful we are to change our life, to change our experiences, to ask for what it
Yes.
is that we are seeking in lived experiences as well. So it's kind of like that double-edged sword where it can cut you, but also too it can just kind of like nudge you in another direction as well. So I just wanted to kind of share that story of
Yeah. I'd like to
being
hear some of
laid
y'all
off
stories too.
and how it
Yeah.
can, yeah, it's a lot. I understand what it's like to be laid off. I
Yeah.
really, really do. It's the most disarming thing because it messes with your identity, your sense of identity. But
Yes.
last time that I was laid off, it allowed me to close that chapter and really sit with myself. I had all the time in the world to sit with myself. And that's how I started doing much more consistently a spiritual practice. That's how I started with spiritual warrior training.
Yeah.
I just surrendered to God in that moment. I was like, you know what? You give me what I asked for. I just have to, I'm just falling into your arms. And I have continued to do that for the last 5 years very consistently in just trusting the process because the path has been an interesting journey. There's some things
Yeah.
and what have you that I never expected to come, but
Yeah.
you have to feel it
Moving.
all.
Yeah.
Still find a sense of hope is what allowed me to get to the other side of it. It pissed me off for sure. I do want to say that like I was hurt. That like I cried. That I have never been like that hurt my feelings.
I know how my
In
mother felt.
that
Oh,
way.
even how I felt. Yeah. They they dogged her out too.